Okay guys, this is a review of yesterday, and by review I do not mean a substitute for our Zoom meetings. You should be able to talk about talent releases when we need them, but also when we do not need them. One thing I should have said was to always err on the side of caution. Even if you don't think you need one, get one. And you guys should know what goes into a talent release. At least name, address, city, etc., and the signature of a parent or guardian if needed. Now, we did talk about deal memos a little bit, but I want to go into it further. Remember, deal memos are legally robust. They are binding. They're usually used for, I've only actually heard of them being used in the arts, specifically film, media, photography, but it's a casual contract. Still a contract, and used for employment. There are things that should absolutely go into the deal memo. Questions you should ask to protect yourself if you are hiring people or you are being hired. Is there overtime pay? If so, how is it calculated? What if we have to travel for this? Will I be reimbursed for travel? When am I going to get my paycheck? How often? Will I be served meals on set? Remember, you're going to be working 16, 17-hour days on this film, so when am I going to eat? What happens if we go into overtime? And the very, very important one, what if this project goes bankrupt? Will I still be paid? And this is enormously important because I can tell you, film productions go kaput all the time. I cannot tell you how many people I know who were a grip or a gaffer on a film. They worked for 2 months, and then all of a sudden it says they get a notice that, oh, by the way, the production company is shut down, we're not shooting anymore, and there is no payment. And so basically they have just donated their professional time for 2 months. You cannot let this happen. A deal memo will protect you from this happening. And on the filmmaker's part, if someone tries to quit or raise a ruckus because they think that they shouldn't be doing something when they already agreed to it, a deal memo will keep you safe. Now, there is stuff that you should make sure goes into your deal memo. Aside of all the questions I just told you should ask, you want to be sure you get the producers, not just the production company address, but the producer's address. Why? Because as soon as that production company says, we're bankrupt, you now have no one to contact. So try and get their social security number. I don't know that you will have success getting it, but try. At least get a phone number to a producer. You want to delineate what your job function is on the set. Salary, like I said, when it's to be paid, how many days it's being paid for, how many hours a day. Will you be reimbursed for expenses like gas, tolls, things like that? And will you get a per diem? Per diem is just Latin for by day. And if you travel, often they give you a set amount of money for that day that you can spend because you're going to need things like toothpaste, toothbrush, and meals in the hours that you're not working on set. Any required travel, as in, do I have to cross the GW Bridge in a truck? Because if I do, I might be paying $36 every time. And kit rentals, which simply are things you bring with you that you are willing to use, such as very frequently used kit rental is a makeup artist will bring his or her entire makeup set and she'll use her own stuff. Well, she's not giving that stuff for free. You guys have to rent that. Steadicam operators often bring their own Steadicam. You're going to have to rent that Steadicam. So that's what a kit rental is, and those can be a lot of money, so you want to make sure you get that in writing. So I did talk about location releases, and mostly we talked about location releases for private property. So I wanted to go into a little more about public places. So I did say to sort of watch out what you don't assume that it's a public place. For instance, there are parks that are private, open to the public, but they're actually owned by private entities. So how do you find the rules for the city, state, or country where you're shooting? Because the last thing you want to do is have your production shut down. Well, fortunately, I talked a little bit about film commissions, and now we're going to talk a little more about film commissions. First of all, how do you find a film commission? Don't worry, it's easy. There's Google. So just go to the Google and type in film commissions, and you'll see right there, there is the Association of Film Commissions International. Now we click on that, and I'm sure there's going to be, oh, there it is, the COVID-19 Global Production Alert. Normally, that's not on there. But all you have to do is click, go down, find members, and you can immediately choose what country, what state. And like I said, there are more in some places than others. So let's just look around here. You want to shoot in Afghanistan? You click on Afghanistan. You want to shoot in Andorra, wherever the hell that is? You can click on Andorra. So look at all of Australia. You have one in Goulburn, Wagga Wagga. Okay, I didn't even know that existed. Melbourne. So look at all these countries. There are obviously plenty of them. Down here, let's go to United States. You can see Texas has a bunch. Let's look at New York City. New York State actually has 3. There's one in Albany, there's one in New York City, and there's one for the Finger Lakes, because those are really popular places to shoot in New York. But look at this. You can find one anywhere. But let's say we want to shoot in, let's choose Connecticut. Okay. Simply click on Connecticut, search, and all the info you need comes up. So apparently they have 2. Just click on those and you will get the website for that film commission. And this is where you have to look for the rules and everything else you need to know about filming in that part of Connecticut. Okay, so let's look at New York City's mayor's office. Usually it does not have the thing about coronavirus, but let's go up to filming permits. Up at the top, click on that and shoot your project in New York City with these 3 easy steps. Let's look at, do I need a permit, and when it's required and when it's not. So there are 3 parts to this. There is obviously not needing any permit. And so if you're using a handheld camera or just a tripod, all your props can be handheld, all your microphones can be handheld. You don't need exclusive use of city property, so that means you do not have to block any people off. Definitely not using any prop weapons, prop vehicles, can't do stunts, and you definitely can't have actors in police uniforms. Then you don't need a permit. Then there's an optional permit. Basically all the same stuff. If you're using a handheld camera, handheld props, no police in uniform, no prop vehicles, no prop weapons, no stunts, blah, 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 same stuff, but you pay $300. So what are you paying $300 for? You're paying the $300 to get the permit that you can basically tell people not to give you any problem. And it will, sometimes people complain like, oh, you're blocking my place, or I remember I had to kick a street performer off, and even though he really had the right to be there, I flashed this optional permit in front of him and he went away. Now, you're required to get a permit if you have an equipment package, and by equipment package, I mean almost anything more than a handheld camera. So, anything with a production vehicle, if you need to block off places for parking, if you want to block off part of city property so other people can't get there, if there are prop weapons, and that's actually really important. These 2 students in LA got arrested, and there were snipers on the buildings across the street for them because they were shooting in front of a courthouse with prop weapons. They were idiots, but obviously you don't mess around with prop weapons. If you have vehicles or actors in police forms or you're doing stunt, you must get one of these permits. Now, these permits also require that you get insurance, and usually I go into insurance, but we really don't have time this semester. So we're not talking about insurance. So there are 3 types of permits in New York City. Actually, 2 types. There's 3 options: no permit, optional permit, and absolutely required permit. Filming in park is a little different, but it's just there are just more rules that you have to follow.